everyone, this is Show here, and whenever we last left off, Deku had actually gotten Bakugo to somewhat use his quirk, and by somewhat, I mean he actually got Bakugo to use his quirk, but he was not able to get him to use it to the point he wanted it to, or the way Bakugo uses it in canon at least. Now, before I continue, Bakugo's personality shift was basically, whenever he was younger, the event he didn't really understand, because essentially he saw Deku disappear out of existence. Now, the reason Bakugo had to go to therapy is because the initial event didn't stick with him, but he started having nightmares about it. Basically, the event just kept happening over and over again. And all he could hear is Deku screaming, fading in and out of existence, basically. So that actually stuck with him. The nightmares kept getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where it was basically like he was watching, well, basically where he thought he was in his own personal hell. So Bakugo would have actually just gone to quirk therapy because of this, and an actual therapist. So he would actually be somewhat of a nice person, but he still has some of that arrogance to him. But it's more, haha, the laughing hides the pain type humor. Now then. We are going to be starting off at the USJ. Now, everyone is on the bus, and they're all talking about their quirks. People are asking Deku more questions and what he can do with his quirks. And they're asking him more questions about that portal quirk he has. He just calls it Light Strider. And he would then say that it's actually what feels like one of the easiest quirks he has that he can use. Now, people would be asking more and more questions on why he said people would change quirks. He would just say, basically, you get your molecules shifted from one side of or one area of existence to the next. It's not always perfect, but one side effect is basically your DNA, or some of your DNA, can get switched around with the other person. Now, it isn't permanent, but after a while, they'll basically start teleporting back to you, or if not, switching back. Now, he's going into the specifics about it, and people then would ask Toru about her quirk. She would say that she can essentially turn her skin invisible, which makes her see-through or just invisible. And she also has an enhancement quirk, just like Midoriya. And then Todoroki would chime in saying that that's true, but one thing you guys don't have, or one thing Midoriya doesn't have, is an ice quirk, like his half and half quirk. He would then be using his fire, which would not surprise people, but it would probably surprise everyone in this who's hearing about this. Now, after this is whenever Deku or Aizawa would say that it's time for them to get off the bus and to actually go into the USJ. Now then, they would all walk in, and Aizawa would give not Aizawa. 13 would give the explanation that quirks can be dangerous if people left in their own devices or people left to themselves. Humans are naturally dangerous, or if not, they just have violent tendencies. She would then go on stating that especially quirklet people, because of certain things, and Aizawa would just be in the background behind everyone, just shaking his hands no, and shaking his head, saying not to go there. And as soon as she started saying this is whenever Deku would say that not all quirklets are like that, and he'd actually sound a bit angry about this. And people would actually take notice of this, saying that Deku needs to calm down a bit. And as soon as Deku would turn around to start saying something, this is whenever the League of Villains would show up with the Nomu. Now, as soon as they showed up, this is whenever Aizawa would immediately jump in, going to attack some of them, and Deku would immediately hop in with him. Todoroki and Toru would actually go in too, but Todoroki is having more trouble because he still needs to train his quirk vert. He only ever seemed to have worked on quirk training, but he did work on his physical body. So, well, not as much, but let's say that he did more physical training, so his quirk is still, it's a little bit weaker, but not by much. Probably just like 1 to 2% weaker. Well, his body is at least a bit stronger. Now then, everyone will be teleported away. Well, after taking down a few villains, everyone will be teleported away. Deku is immediately teleported to the area, or the water area. Now, he would immediately go to the boat, and he would have gotten Toru because he would have saw her falling, or she would have at least turned off her quirk that makes her invisible, and shot for him, and he would have gotten to the boat, but he's still pretty angry, and at this point, his skin would start burning, or he's at least producing smoke. Now, Toru is actually telling Deku to calm down, and he would say that he doesn't need to calm down, but he knows something that would really help him right now. Froppy would immediately have landed on the boat, asking what he means, and he would just jump into the water. And at that point, the water around him starts bubbling, and he would immediately just burn it all. What I mean by that is, he turns it all into steam, and all the villains are just trying not to die of heat stroke or from literally chugging gallons of hot water, or boiling hot water. Now then, Deku would immediately just walk out from shore, or walk out onto the shore, saying that he really needed that. Now, people are looking at Deku quite a bit suspiciously, and this is whenever Shigaraki would see him, and he would just tell them that they need to see All Might because they have this Nomu and they want to kill him. Deku would say that All Might's not here right now, but you're facing Izuku Midoriya, or you're facing a quirklet. Shigaraki would be taken aback by this, saying that it's funny to see one of you in UA. I didn't think they would allow monsters here. Deku would have immediately got mad and gone to throw a punch at Shigaraki, but the Nomu would have stepped in, actually grabbing Deku, and as soon as that would happen, it would start bear hugging him and squeezing him, and Deku wouldn't really react to this or scream, which would kind of prompt Shigaraki to, he'd be confused, thinking that guy is weird, so he must have a pain tolerance quirk, or something like that. This is whenever Deku would fall to the ground. Shigaraki thinks they won, and that the only quirklet there is dead. But Deku would immediately just get back up, saying that, nothing is ever going to be that easy, as he would immediately just start toying with the Nomu. He'd start using his telekinesis to throw it around the area, doing all that, and he would have actually tried pinning it to the ground. Now, he's actually using his telekinesis in prompt with Amp, which is actually just giving his body a run for its money, because he's essentially putting as much force down on the Nomu as he can, and it's still walking towards him. He would then promptly start figuring out another thing he can do, as he would make portals and just start going through them while he's sucker punching the Nomu in different directions. He's going up, he's going left, he's going right, he's coming from below, he's coming from behind, he's coming from over it. He's essentially just throwing punches as much as he can, in tone with his in tone with Amp. Now then, Whenever Deku would get to the point where he's starting to get a little bit tired, he would then promptly get grabbed by the Nomu. It would grab him solidly, and it would just start ripping his arms off. Now, as soon as that would happen, the Nomu is doing that, and this is whenever Deku, he would barely be able to feel this, but his arms would start growing back immediately. But as soon as that would happen, the Nomu would then grab Deku by his skull, and he would just punch him in the chest, actually damaging his heart. And whenever he did that, Deku would have fallen over after hitting a wall. Shigaraki would then walk over and tell Midoriya that it's useless, and even no matter how many quirks he has, that they're still going to win, because that thing is made to kill All Might. And even then, it seems to have similar quirks to yours. It can regenerate, it's got shock absorption, and it's got super strength. He would then put his hand over Deku's heart, saying that, well, he would put 4 fingers on Deku's chest, right over his heart, saying that it's a shame that such a talented quirklet had to die here. It would have been fun meeting you in a different life and having you fight with us. As he would put his final finger on Deku's chest, he would start just disintegrating his chest. He'd go through his ribcage and actually grab his heart, crushing it in his hand. Now, this is actually whenever Deku would scream out in pain. And while he's screaming, it's confusing to everyone. Deku would then just go silent as Shigaraki pulls his hand out of his chest, saying that now they just need to kill everyone else and All Might will arrive. Deku would then just start laughing. Now then, when Deku just starts laughing, this is whenever Shigaraki would turn around and he would see that Deku's eyes, not only are they glowing red, and I mean red with intent to kill, but the whites of his eyes are now blacked out. And he just will not stop laughing. And this is whenever the entire USJ would begin shaking. As Shigaraki would see him essentially regrow every part of his body that the Nomu either ripped off or he disintegrated. That's weird. This is whenever Deku would manifest his 10th quirk. Now, Deku would then, while he's still laughing, just tell Shigaraki that he has made a big mistake. Not only have you pissed me off, but you tried to kill me. Shigaraki is confused, saying that doesn't make sense. I ripped out your heart. You should be dead. I destroyed it. I had it in my hand as a pile of dust. Deku would say that not a lot of things make sense anymore. But he knows one thing. As his eyes are glowing with intent to murder, he would tell Shigaraki that that is the first and the biggest ounce of pain he has felt in over 10 years. Now, not only did it make him at least finally feel something, it is intoxicating to finally feel human again. Now, Shigaraki is shaking in his boots. And this is whenever Deku would just say that, there it is. That's what I love to feel. That fear. That fright. It's delightful, really. It's intoxicating. I cannot get enough of it. As he would then start lighting on fire. He was then just screaming and laughing like a madman. He is telling Shigaraki that not only have you finally given me one thing I've always wanted to enjoy and have back in my life again, you've pissed me off for the last time. Deku would immediately just blitz Shigaraki, and as he would touch Shigaraki, Shigaraki would not light on fire, but he would immediately just start screaming and being overwhelmed with fear. He would look up to see Deku as the devil, with wings and everything, as everything behind him is on fire, and he just hears screaming. And he just hears Deku's laughter just slowly distort over and over again. Now, what's happening on the outside is Deku's still just maniacally laughing. He just won't stop as he just immediately blitzes the Nomu and just rips it apart with what looks to be black wires. Or at least what people can perceive to be, because it doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense to Deku right now. He's just maniacally screaming, and he just keeps dismembering the Nomu and making it scream in primal agony. He would light it on fire, he would rip it apart with his telekinesis. And Shigaraki's still laying there trying to process what's going on, as Deku's essentially broken his mind. He's on his knees begging to his god to let him survive. Deku would just tell him that not only is your god fake, but even if he did exist, you're forgetting that the devils roam the earth. The angels, the true angels, have come from below. Wow, the devils descended from heaven. Now then, after that happens, as he's telling Shigaraki this, the Nomu would have tried coming up to attack Deku. Deku would have immediately frozen in place, cut it up into tiny pieces, and then lit it on fire. Now, All Might would arrive and see this, and he'd just see Deku just laughing over and over again. He's kinda confused because he's never seen Deku laugh this much, even show this much emotion on his face. And his eyes just look so different. He looks like a completely different person. Now, this is whenever Toru would run up to All Might saying that she doesn't understand what happened. Deku was fighting one of those villains and it killed him, but he's back. But he just started acting like this. It's freaking everyone out. This is whenever All Might would immediately run over after taking out every single villain in the flash of a second, that he would start trying to shake Midoriya out of it and telling him that he needs to calm down. As soon as Toru would run up to him, she would say that he is the strongest man she knows and he needs to calm down. After 5 minutes of them just shaking him and trying to get him to calm down, he would finally somewhat return to his senses with one of his eyes turning back to normal. Now, as he backs away and tries to figure out what's going on and why he can't feel, or why he can feel pain, he's immediately turns around to see that Shigaraki's on his knees, staring at the Nomu's burning corpse. Deku would immediately just take off flying away. Now, as that would happen, this is whenever people would start trying to look for Deku. And they would find him on the roof of the facility where Miss Kenjo is at. Now then, what happens next is All Might would later find Midoriya, and so would Todoroki, Toru, and Bakugo. All Might's still in his buff form, but he would go onto the roof and he would talk with Deku for about 5 to 10 minutes about what happened, And he would explain to Deku that that thing wasn't human, and it had too many quirks put into it, and they were able to identify it as someone who was called deceased, or labeled deceased over a year ago. Now then, this is whenever All Might would jump off, saying that he doesn't have a lot of time left, and there are some people here to talk to him. He would jump off into the city and buff down an alleyway, as he would then go back to UA. This is whenever Toru, Todoroki, and Bakugo would actually walk out onto the building, and Bakugo would say that, so this is the place where Miss Kenjo works, or where you guys have been coming for quirk therapy, or quirk counseling. Toru and Todoroki would actually tell Bakugo, yes, it is, and it's actually a very, very nice place, and the staff is actually very friendly. Now, they would see Deku essentially just balled up in the corner, actually trying to figure out what happened. Now then, Toru and Todoroki would tell Deku that it's okay, it wasn't his fault, he lost control. And this is whenever Deku would just specify that he knows it wasn't his fault. It's the way he feels about it. Whenever he finally felt pain again, it was intoxicating to him. Not only did he enjoy the feeling, but he relished in it. He wants to feel it again. I just don't know what to do. It scares me because I don't know what to do anymore, Todoroki. Toru. All Might told me I used something against that thing I don't even know I could do. I think I awakened another quirk. It's scary, guys. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Now then, after bawling his eyes out for more time, this is when Bakugo would comfort him, saying that after what you helped me with on the exam, or the Heroes vs. Villains, he is going to be here and he is going to help them. But they don't have to be back at school for 2 weeks because they're going to try and investigate what happened with the Nomu. Now, Deku, hearing this, would actually be somewhat relieved, and he would just say that that's fine, but he just needs to tell Miss Kenjo that he needs to go back to a quirk doctor. Now then, after that, Deku would return to the quirk doctor, they would see him, and this is the doctor that diagnosed him with 9 quirks. He would ask why Deku's there. He would explain what happened during the USJ attack, and not only do the doctors, well, they're the doctors in the facility, but yeah, let's say that the quirk doctor that diagnosed Deku actually got a very good job as a researcher, and still does his quirk diagnosis, but he kind of works for the company, but at the same time, he just does a lot of tests and medical research on Deku, so he actually is at the facility. So kids just come there, because it's still technically a hospital, but it's just, this is a different part of the hospital, so a building connected to it, well, adjacent or connected. And Deku would explain, he would run tests and diagnosis, and he would be shocked, saying that they didn't think it was possible, but you were right in your assumption, Midoriya, but you have essentially manifested another quirk. Now, he would then explain that from what they've seen and the way that he described it, not only does this quirk work off of fear, but it seems to feed on it the more he induces it into others, essentially getting stronger. He would then ask what he means, and he would then say that if he were to intimidate a person to the point where they were completely unable to move, and he tries using this quirk, your quirk would feed off of their fear getting stronger. And not only that, but you can actually use it in battle. You essentially can take their fear and enhance it. It works the same as your other quirk that produces a last stand that produces adrenaline into your body. Except it seems that not only can you do this to others, not only can you inject this fear into others, you can manifest it into simple, or it looks to see that it mutated and works with your weaponized ability, to where you can essentially use the fear and the weapons, or you can weaponize a shadow. He would say that you can essentially use this gas and make it react with a shadow, and then he would give the super scientific explanation, which basically means that he can use this gas, and the way it manifests to the human eye is essentially what looks like a black whip. Now, that's the best way I can describe it, because I actually did a lot of thinking on this one, and it actually did turn out to be my favorite quirk. Now, I'm going to be leaving this off of here, guys, and you finally know what Deku's 10th quirk is, and I hope the reveal was actually very satisfying to some people. But basically, this quirk, it induces fear into others and also injects it into Midoriya. So this quirk also does do friendly fire. But the only way the quirk seems to activate is through intense pain, or whenever Deku feels pain. Basically, if you rip his heart out, or you induce intense pain or fear into Deku, he can use this quirk. And since he kind of already was scared of himself, him manifesting this is not too far-fetched. Now, I really do hope you guys enjoy and like the 10th quirk, because I was actually thinking about changing it, but I decided to keep it, because I have like 30 quirks listed on here, on this paper alone, and half of them are all marked out. Now then, I hope you guys did enjoy, and have a wonderful night.